On this episode of the Girl Talk podcast.
But I think we set ourselves up for failure in what you said, in the expectation, because we all want a Norman Rockwell painting to happen.
Yes.
And it doesn't happen like that because we're all people and we're all flawed. And what one person's going to see ain't going to man our hill of beans to somebody. I mean, it's just all over the place. So I think we have to adjust our expectations. You're listening to the Girl Talk podcast. My name is Carol.
I'm Kelly.
Hey, I'm Trisha.
And we would like to give a very special thank you to our friends at Compassion International.
Mm-hmm.
They are releasing children from poverty in the name of Jesus. You can learn more about their child sponsorship program by texting the word child to 1-800-293-1069. Thanks again to Compassion International.
Are you guys hospitable?
It depends on the day.
Yeah.
But
What do you
generally,
mean?
yeah. I think so.
So I think the word hospitality kind of gets a bad rap.
Sure.
I love having people at my house. I do. I don't do it as often as I'd like, but when we say hospitality, I think the image that comes into my mind is Martha Stewart and like having all matching placemats and the seasonal decor out,
the perfect
and the
right.
soap that smells really good in your
the
bathroom.
soap that you do that really
You
well.
do have that.
Yeah, you
your
do have
soap
that.
game is strong.
It is strong.
Okay,
And-
or that your house smelling really good because my house doesn't smell really good.
It
That's a
does
different.
too.
No, I'm trying to come up with an example, y'all. That's not me. That's not related to me.
Okay, well, look this
So
way.
right.
Look
Yeah.
right over here.
Look at us.
I got nothing going.
Yeah, and I just think hospitality, because I took one of those spiritual gifts assessments a couple years ago, and one of my high things was hospitality. And I was like, "Have you seen my house? Like, I can't cook nothing. Like, it's not about casseroles and decorations. It's
Or
more
how good your
about
soap smells in your bathroom.
or how your smell. Although I will say that is a gift. But
I always smell my hands after going to your house.
I know you smell your hands after you come out of the bathroom all the
Stop
time.
it. I like the smells. Smells are important.
Okay, so back to our original
It's
comment
taking a
about
weird
hospitality.
turn.
I know.
Okay.
Hospitality. I think it's time for us to take some time off. Hospitality. Are you hospitable? Do you have people in your home often? And is it just you have people who are like you in your home, or do you have people that are different from you in your home? Let me tell you why I'm asking this question.
Yeah.
Because I hosted my first ever Thanksgiving this year. And it was good, but I have to tell you, my stress level considerably went. I mean, just the preparation for it and the wondering, is everyone going to have a good time? Is everyone gonna, all the things.
Cleaning your guest bathroom.
And yes. You know this because the guest bathroom is my daughter's bathroom. I don't know. Anyway, but I just had such a level of stress concerning that. And I wonder if I'm alone.
No, you're not alone at all. I think anytime we are having to be vulnerable with people, and that's what I think having people over to your house is. It's opening up a piece of you to let other people, in our own minds, what we're thinking is we're going to let people open. We're going to open up a piece of us to let other people judge.
Yeah.
And we have that underlying feeling that somebody's always judging me. Does my bathroom soap smell good enough? Is my house clean enough? Am I going to cross all the T's and dot all the I's when it comes to, whatever it is related to the hospitality that we're offering? And so nobody likes to be judged. And so the biggest hurdle, I think, to being hospitable is getting over that piece of it.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So it's hard.
never have anybody ever at my house. Never, ever, never,
That's
ever,
not
ever.
true.
Okay,
You've had
rarely.
Jeff over.
Twice, and he made fun of my pizza because it was like dorm room pizza. I ran out of cheese, and so we had to use sandwich slices on the pizza instead of the shredded.
But that's super creative.
That
I
is
love
creative.
It.
But
how many other houses would he go to that they had American cheese on their
I
pizza?
know, but we laughed. We're like, it's like high school kids or college kids. The point is, I felt like I walked away kind of like, I failed. I failed. And I did. I wanted to have him over because I knew he didn't have home cooked meals as much because he's staying like in a camper situation. So I wanted to have him over. But honestly, I was really embarrassed. And I just hadn't thought through the fact that there wasn't enough cheese. And that's exactly what could go wrong is like, you have an expectation in your head. You want it to be perfect. You want him to walk away going, no, that's great. I'm concerned about the appearance of my house. And so anyway, I usually just lock down. I don't have people over because I'm afraid of that.
How many other people on this staff, though, invited Jeff over?
I don't know.
Yeah, probably very, very few.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure it meant a lot to Jeff.
Well, he was
to
very
have
sweet. It was just me.
Right, yeah. But you went there, and that's awesome.
But I think we set ourselves up for failure in what you said, in the expectation, because we all want a Norman Rockwell painting to happen.
Yes.
And it doesn't happen like that because we're all people and we're all flawed. And what one person's going to see ain't going to man our hill of beans to somebody. I mean, it's just all over the place. So I think we have to adjust our expectations. But the other place I want to go with this is, do you think that we are cheating ourselves out of an opportunity when we don't open our homes to friends and neighbors, maybe who don't share the same beliefs? We've just come through a contentious political season. There's been a lot of finger pointing and name calling and just ugly things that have happened. And I wonder if that has caused us to just become insular and not reach out to other people who don't believe the same way we do.
Well, what's interesting is before the election was Helene.
Yeah, right.
And I did have people over during Helene.
Yeah.
There was nothing to be done. Plus, the lights weren't really on always, so you couldn't see the dirt and dust bunnies. But we did have people over, and we went to other people's houses, and there was that open door of hospitality. But then the election came and shut that down. Yeah. At least it seemed like in my neighborhood. But that was interesting.
Why does it take a natural disaster for us all to appreciate the people that live around? I mean, when you think about it and you think about the effects of Helene, a lot of neighborhoods were cut off. So really, the only people you could get to were your neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I realized how poor of a job I had done getting to know my neighbors. I know a lot of them, but there are others that I don't know as well. And if they needed something, would they have come to my door and said, I need... Now, I wasn't at home during the storm and for a week afterwards, but would they have come and knocked on my door? And so, yes, but it took that. It seemed like everybody was in and out of everybody's house and, hey, what have I got that you can use?
We helped each other out.
Yeah, I love that your neighborhood, y'all did the potluck dinners and everybody just brought what they had and you grilled out one night and all the things. And I think, why does it take something like a storm to get us to the place where we're comfortable doing that? Because the thing is that we were all on a level playing field when the storm hit.
Oh, that makes some sense to me.
But after the storm, everybody recovered from the storm.
Yeah.
It was like all of a sudden the division and the differences came back. But they really didn't.
Right. I saw my neighbor just 2 days ago. The neighbor that came and brought all of his stuff from the freezer that we grilled out.
Yeah.
And so we developed a rapport at that point, and we never really talked to him before. He's like 2 or 3 houses up. But anyway, I saw him, and I rolled down my window. It was the first time I've seen him in a week or two. And I waved. I was like, hey, how you doing? Hey, Rob, And I said, we got to get back together again. And he kind of looked at me like I was a little crazy. Like, I'm not sure we're going to get back together again. But I still need to offer to get back together again. Yeah. I'm going to be the one to invite him, I think.
Yeah.
He's not going to invite me, I can tell.
Yeah.
And he was a little like, are we going to do that? I don't know.
Yeah.
So now probably the onus is on me to go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
It's it's just interesting because I love having people over to our house.
You're so good at it.
Yeah, you are.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But what I don't do is do that with my neighbors very often. And like you, Carol, I wasn't home much during the storm. And so I didn't really get to participate in that kind of, hospitality during the storm. And man, I feel like I missed out. I'm wishing now that there had been that opportunity that I would have taken that opportunity maybe to have a cookout on my back porch or do something to share with my neighbors so that I could bridge that gap and build that relationship with some of those neighbors that I still to this day don't really have much of a relationship with. So yeah, I kind of feel like I missed out, but I love the idea of being hospitable and having folks over. For whatever reason it is.
It seems to come naturally to you. And Carol and I, we laugh and talk about, don't cook much. We're never asked to bring the food for the family get-togethers. What you do, plates, and I do bread that you purchase at the store. But it seems to come naturally to you. So what do you do if it doesn't come naturally to you?
Yeah, I think you probably have to just try it once or twice and see how much fun it is, and just get over the initial fear of it. Once you're past that initial pride really issue that comes along with my house isn't clean enough, or
I want you to think my house is nice.
My steak isn't going to taste as good as that person's steak did, or my nachos that I'm going to make are made with American cheese.
I can make good nachos.
Right. Pizza. It was pizza that you made with American
But
cheese.
here's the thing, too, I think, is that we have to redefine what hospitality means, because whenever that came up on my spiritual gifts assessment, I was like, I'm not hospitable at all. But the word hospitable really means to welcome others. And from that standpoint, I feel like I don't have a problem walking up to anybody and starting a conversation.
Right. And making them feel welcome.
Right. And you welcome them into that vulnerable place. It may not be the vulnerable place of your house for one reason or another, but you welcome them into that vulnerable place of your soul.
Yeah.
And that's the key piece of hospitality.
And I think that's what we need to focus in on, instead of saying, I'm not a good cook, my house is not elaborate, all the things that we tend to default to as hospitality, and really understand what the heart of hospitality is, and that is reaching out and making people feel welcome. And I think that's a different...
Probably also helping people be seen and heard and known and loved, that you are... you're making eye contact with somebody, and you're really pausing to listen to somebody's story, to hold that sacred trust that they've given you. That it's more than just opening up your home; it's opening up your time, which is really more valuable. And oftentimes, you're opening up your mind. That you're stopping and pausing long enough to really make eye contact with somebody and want to see them and hear them.
That reminds me of a story that I've heard before. The name of the book is, I think it's Rosario Butterfield, and it's The Gospel Comes with a House Key. She was living an alternate lifestyle and was, I think, a professor. Isn't that correct? She was a professor and
the chair of the...
department or something. But she held a pretty high position, and her neighbor was also on faculty, and they, husband and wife, just kept inviting her to dinner. And so she started to go. And over time, she began to see their love for her, even though she believed very differently than they did, and she eventually came to Christ. And that's a good reminder to me that I don't always need to have people who believe exactly the same way that I do. I need to kind of branch out, because that is the way that one-to-one, eye-to-eye contact that we make that you talked about, sometimes that really is the most loving thing we can do for somebody, And I think, especially since you brought the storm up, one of the things that has overwhelmed me is not just the damage that was done, but the need for people to tell their story about what they experienced.
Yes.
That is probably the greater need, rather than, food, clothing. Once we got water back and power back, but people want to tell you what they experienced. And that is part of healing, I think.
It is.
And that's often a discounted, piece of the equation. I think we don't often, we need people to go listen, Right. You don't think of that, but we actually went up to Burnsville to serve one day, and working in a warehouse. I mean, we were throwing diapers and medicines and just trying to get some order, sorting clothes, to the chaos that was this distribution point. And the number of people who just wanted to stand there and share their stories, I was really amazed by that, because I was there. I'm like, we're here to, separate this stuff out.
Done.
And it became very apparent very quickly that people wanted to just share their stories and what they had been through.
But that's the real ministry.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the real hospitality that we can offer people, is that place to just be with them.
And I'm glad you said that's the real ministry, because I think sometimes we focus on the food or the decor or how clean it is, or, all the things that really at the end of the day aren't going to matter, but they will remember that you looked at them, that you saw them, that you listened to them, and that you cared about what was important to them.
And I think that's true not just in a storm. I think the storm was the macro version of that, but on a mini level, everybody we see today has a story. They're processing. They need someone to see them and hear them. The storm made it really big and really apparent, but I think that's true on a day-to-day basis as well.
And wouldn't Jesus want us to take what we've been given and to use that to bless other people? I mean, isn't that part of Jesus's heart? And that's exactly what happened during the storm. Oh, you don't have food. Well, let's pool all that we've got together here and have a potluck. It's not perfect, but boy, it sure was good because there wasn't any food to be found anywhere else. Oh, your kid needs to borrow my Wi-Fi to do their homework. Sure, have them come on over. You come with them. And it's practical things like that. But when you think about it, that is the way of Christ. Taking what he had and giving it to other people is, I think, his heartbeat. And I hate that we missed the mark or I have missed the mark so many times because I made it about either the food or the decor or how clean my house was or not, instead of the opportunity to love somebody like Jesus would.
Oh, yeah. Well, you just think about how many great stories there are in the Bible of Jesus was on his way from point A to point B, and he stopped because somebody interrupted his plan going from point A to point B. And that's where he was really hospitable, is that he saw the person. He paused long enough to be with the person. And that was definitely the way he walked. It's the way we should walk, too. And then he also liked to go to a big party. So,
I love that. So I wonder if we are losing our influence by not opening our homes and not being hospitable. Maybe, I don't know. I can't, see globally if this would make a difference or not. But I'm willing to venture that it would change our neighborhoods if we would start opening our doors or pulling the grill out in the driveway and inviting all the neighbors over and all the things that we think are small things. I think maybe Jesus is drawing us back to, hey, what do you have that you can give? What do you have? Is it time? Is it your attention? Is it your home? Is it your car? Can you give somebody a ride? I mean, all those things that we take for granted each and every day became big things during the storm. But maybe Jesus' lesson to us in it all is, A, you can't take any of this stuff with you, and it might be gone before you're ready for it to be. But here's what you can take. You can take love, and you can take the relationships that you've built with other people. Most importantly, salvation is the greatest need that we have. And I think we've heard so many stories about people saying, hey, I lost everything, but the greatest need I have was for my sin to be forgiven. And I found that through this amazing storm that went through here and that devastated so much of our area. And so I wonder if we're not missing an opportunity. And maybe, just maybe, Jesus is taking us back to the basics and saying, let's start here. What do you have? What's in your... This is an actual phrase from the Bible. You can look it up. What's in your hand? What's in your hand? And we can look at our lives and say, what is in my hand today that I can give, that I can share, that I can be a blessing to somebody else? So I think for me, I'm just having to redefine hospitality, because for so much of my life, I've made it about the decor, the cooking, I'll bring the cups and plates. And it's about so much more. It's about so much more than that. It's more about relationship and listening and all the things that we often take for granted. Maybe God's trying to get us back to those basics.
And maybe, too, we're spending so much time being distracted with the cooking and distracted with the cleaning and distracted with the decor during whatever hospitality event or, party we're throwing at our house, that we don't actually ever see the guests that are with us, that we don't stop long enough to actually be present because we're so busy worried about the details.
Yeah, creating an appearance.
Right, yeah.
This is hitting me because God's been calling me to reach out again to my neighbors, and I haven't done it, and I need to do it. And you're talking about how we can bless other people by providing that hospitality, and at the same time, the way God does it, He's also doing a work in us and chipping away at that part of me that wants somebody to think my house is nice, or the part that won't invite someone in because I'm afraid they're going to judge me harshly, or that part of me that they see that definitely things are not perfect. Okay, that's okay. Isn't that okay? That has to be okay.
Good, actually. Yeah, it's good.
It's human.
It is. Yeah. It's human, and it also helps us all understand that we don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
If we see something in other people, and nobody is perfect except Jesus.
Right.
And so when we're able to look around and go, oh, look, she's not perfect just like me.
Let's
I
be
can
not perfect
be
together.
Right. I'm free to not have to feel that same level of pressure to be perfect.
Yeah.
If I know that you're not perfect, or if I know that you acknowledge that you're not perfect, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. It makes me feel like I can be not perfect too.
Yeah. So today, maybe you need to redefine hospitality, what it means. Are you loving others well? What do you have in your hands? What is there that you have that maybe someone else doesn't have in your neighborhood? A way that you can meet a practical need. But we all have something that most people need, and that is Jesus. And you can have a part in sharing that with your neighbors. Now, here's the thing. I don't think you have to beat them over the head with a Bible the first time they come to visit, because I believe that the gospel is relational. So much of my life, I tried to make it about a list of things. Like if I go share Christ with somebody, I had to make it through this list of Bible verses, or I had to make it through this list of questions, or I had to make it through the list of things. And all those things are good. They're tools, though. And nothing replaces that building of relationship and earning the trust and earning the right. Because most of the time what I've found is that if you walk with people long enough, they'll go, you know what? There's just something different about you. Mm-hmm. When this storm came, you just had a peace about you that everything was going to be okay. And I didn't have that, and I'm wondering about it. Those are the questions that people ask when we walk with them over time. So if your neighbor doesn't come to Christ the first time you invite them over again. Build that relationship. Be intentional about using what God has given you to reach your community. I think it's a good idea. I think it's easier to do during the holidays. I know you've got so much going on, but people need to hear the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So will you be the one to share it with them? We sure hope you will. And if you got other ideas that you can pass along to us, we're always willing to learn. You can email us at girltalk@thelightfm.org.
And you know who else loves a really good party?
Who's that?
That's Compassion International.
Oh, yeah.
They are partying with children all around the world as they are releasing children from poverty in the name of Jesus. You can learn more about them, their partnership with the Girl Talk podcast, and how you can sponsor a child in a country that maybe you'll never, ever get to visit, but a child who's different, who you can make a huge difference in their life. Text the word child to 1-800-293-1069. Thank you again, Compassion International.
And thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time we gather around these microphones for the next Girl Talk podcast.